In a city of a million stories, there was a second-hand bookshop tucked between a laundromat and a noisy pub. It was called The Final Chapter, and it was run by a man named Alistair. Alistair was a mountain of a man, with a beard like a thicket and eyes that held the quiet patience of a deep lake. But it was his voice that customers remembered, a low, soft rumble, like pages turning in a silent room. He spoke as if each word was a precious, fragile thing. The shop had a peculiar rule, written on a faded card near the till. Every book deserves to be finished. Alistair was the finisher. People would bring him books with missing final pages, water-damaged chapters or novels that had been abruptly abandoned by previous owners. They would leave them on his counter with a hopeful look. In the deep quiet of the evening, after he'd turned the sign to closed, Alistair would light a single amber lamp, sit in his worn armchair, and take up the wounded book. He would read it all the way through, absorbing its story, its voice, its heart. And when he reached the gap, the torn edge, the blank space where the ending should be, he would close his eyes. He wouldn't invent a new ending. He would listen for the one that was meant to be. Then, in his grounding, resonant voice, he would speak it aloud, giving the story its missing conclusion. The shop's walls, lined with thousands of completed tales, seemed to lean in to listen. A woman brought in a cheap paperback romance, its last 3 pages chewed away by a puppy decades before. "It was my mother's," she said, her voice tight. It was her favorite. She always wondered how it ended. Alistair took the book. That night he read of misunderstandings and ballroom dances, of a lost locket and a stubborn kiss. He reached the ragged edge and fell silent. The only sound was the gentle hiss of the old radiator. He didn't wait for her on the dock in the rain. Alistair's voice began, a soft, sure cadence filling the quiet shop. He knew she hated the cold. He built a fire in the library of the old house instead, and when she arrived, soaked and furious and heartbroken, the first thing she saw was the warmth of the flames and the locket shining on the mantelpiece. He said, "I found it. I knew you'd come back for it, and for me." The next day he told the woman the ending. She wept, not because it was happy, but because it was right. It sounded like her mother. A teenager brought in a sci-fi novel. Its final chapter dissolved into a blue stain by a spilled drink. "I've tried to guess," the boy said, frustrated, "but nothing fits." Alistair read of starship battles and alien prophecies. He reached the stain and let the silence gather. "The hero doesn't fire the weapon," Alistair murmured to the silent shelves. "He finally understands the prophecy. It wasn't a warning. It was an invitation. He lowers his shield, not his gun, and the alien light doesn't destroy him. It reads his peaceful intent and answers in kind," he told the boy. The boy's eyes widened. "Yeah," he whispered. "Yeah, that's what the main character would have done. He was never a soldier. He was a diplomat." One rainy evening, an old man came in. He held not a book, but a thin, handwritten journal. His hands trembled. "It's my wife's," he said. "She was writing it before she passed. She never got to finish it." The last entry stopped mid-sentence. That night, Alistair read of a love story that spanned 60 years. It was filled with small, perfect details. The way he always burned the toast, the scent of her lilac perfume, the quiet joy of growing old together. The final entry described a walk in the autumn woods. The last written words were, "And the light through the yellow leaves was so beautiful I wanted to." The sentence hung unfinished. Alistair held the journal. He read it again. He closed his eyes, not listening for plot but for a feeling, for a heartbeat. His voice, when it came, was deeper, softer, more gentle than ever before. She wanted to stop time. He rumbled into the peaceful gloom of the shop. Just for a moment, to hold it, to thank it, for the toast and the perfume and the man walking beside her. She didn't need to write the ending. She had already lived it. The next day he returned the journal to the old man and told him. The man's trembling stopped. He clutched the book to his chest, nodded his thanks, and walked out into the rain, looking for the first time in a long time, at peace. Alistair turned the sign to open. Another story was complete. The silence in the shop was no longer one of absence but of fullness. A library of finished dreams, each one closed with a gentle, final thud by the low, soft voice of the man who ensured every story got the ending it deserved.